Well, hello, 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 and welcome to ZBrush Live. I just want to make sure everybody can hear me okay. So if you can hear me and see my screen, please let me know via chat. While we're waiting for that, do all the internet things like subscribe, ring the bell, leave a comment if you have one, and if you have questions, you can ask them during the stream via chat. And if you're watching this after it's been recorded, you can always leave questions in the as a comment, and hopefully somebody will get back to you. We do check those every once in a while. So without further ado, I'll just go ahead and wait for you folks to chime in with the fact that you can hear me okay and see my screen. And if you can and everything is good, we can move forward. We're going to continue working on the mech. I think we've got a little bit more modeling to do. Good news is that I did have a little bit of time this time around to do some work. So I did make some modifications specifically to the legs over here. I kind of was not happy with what was there before, and I tried to give it like some sort of legs here that are kind of like prosthetic legs. So I'll be working on those a little bit today. And then also I figured out what to do with this. Okay, good. So Athelstan says that you can hear me okay, which is great. That's YouTube is checked. If somebody Twitch can chime in as well, then we'll be good to go. I think if we do both of those, then YouTube is fine too. Not YouTube, I'm sorry, Facebook is fine too. Okay, so figured out what these arms do, and you know, again, it's one of these things where I just started this from an AI image, so it's all kind of a big work in progress. Trying to figure it out as I go. So basically, these balloons lift this mech up, but since this mech is pretty heavy, probably what would happen is that the weight of the mech would kind of push down. So this is kind of how, you know, things will end up like this, right? So these are little exhausts that either put out some sort of a propulsion so that the mech kind of evens out, right? So these are just for propulsion. So this arm, this one that's hanging down, is basically the only function it has is to you know, give it some propulsion. So if it goes between the legs and pushes backwards, the mech moves forwards, and then there's constantly a jet or some sort of a airstream coming out of it so that the mech kind of stays balanced. So that's figured out, and I guess these arms, this one here is to inject something or to weld something. I guess I haven't really figured that out yet. And then of course these ones are to grab things, and so maybe I'll put some fingers on here, I don't know. And then of course the legs are for walking when the mech is on the ground. So we're kind of getting into the functionality of this thing. Usually I figure all these things out before I start. But this time around, we are kind of exploring, which is sometimes fun to do, especially on personal projects where you're really not given a brief and you don't have to follow that. So I'm still waiting for somebody from Twitch to chime in and let me know that you can see my screen and hear me okay. And if you can, that is awesome. So I just want to do a few things here. Just 1 second, I will be right back. Have to do a few things here. I don't know what's going on with this. Here we go. All right. Sorry about that. Just had a bit of a technical thing that I had to deal with, but I think we are good to go now. So let's bring this back. Okay. All right, so still waiting for somebody from Twitch. We've got quite a few people on. I can't imagine that some of you aren't from Twitch. So if somebody is watching this on Twitch, in the chat, if you can just go in and type in that you can hear me okay, that would be awesome. And it looks like, looking through the filter here, we don't have any of the kind of the egregious people that were posting some not rude comments, but kind of, you know, NSFW comments last time. All right, so here we go. Elephant 21 or 12, thank you very much on Twitch. So we're good to go. We can go ahead and get started. All right, so working on these arms, I kind of, you know, I had that tube in here that I had before, but it was having a lot of topological issues. So I basically just did a ZBrush on it, and I'm just now adding some features to it. So there's a little bit of a bend over here, not too much of a bend. And then there's kind of a little bit more of a bend over here, so 2 bends. And then I'm going to see if I can kind of keep this maybe as a straight thing, you know, maybe straighten it out, but I kind of like the gesture of it, so I'm going to keep it this way and maybe give it one more place to bend from. So let's go ahead and bring up the poly structure for it, and I'm going to hide some of the other things because we don't really need to see them. So we don't need the hanging arms, and we don't need the other arms either. We just need to have these. In doing so, I kind of also have to figure out some sort of a connection over here because this is just kind of coming out of this area, and I need to figure out a way to make it work. So I probably have to create some sort of border piece or some sort of a piece that will kind of make this attachment of this part to this part work. The good news is there's kind of this little bit of a item here that kind of jots out, so it looks good from a silhouette perspective, but the connection here is just kind of one polygon just smashing into another one, and it's even worse down here, so that's got to be figured out. And some of you might notice that I might have figured these things out in a previous version with a different iteration, but just like everything else, things change. At my work, it does because certain art directors make demands on changes, and on a personal project, things evolve and change over time. So here I'm just kind of expanding this out, trying to find a good way these two things can connect. Now, I don't really think people are going to be seeing this much, but again, I'm thinking of this as a 3D printed object at some point, so I need to accommodate for all angles and not just be stuck with just a kind of a compositional image that I'm going to put out. Okay, so that looks okay from the top. On the side here, I think this looks fine, except I need to put in a transitional piece, which I'll have to figure out. And from the side, so the top part looks okay. I think I could kind of maybe angle this way a little bit. Like that. And then from the bottom, it looks somewhat okay. Let me hide the hull to see. Maybe I don't need these arms either for now. Okay. So maybe flatten this out. Hey Dresh, how's it going? Thank you for joining. What is up? Why is it staying on the inflate brush on H polish? Here we go. Let's see. Some of the things that have happened is I can talk about some of the work I've been doing at work. Basically, the latest project I've been on is it's called the Tom Brady Experience, which is an NFT for Tom Brady's this season of football. I don't know if it's his last season. He's probably going to play more, but I guess I could pull it up and show it, some of the work that I've done on here. But I think it'll be interesting to see that, like I do other types of work it as well. Can spell this right? Here we go. Here we go. So one of the things I worked on was this model of Tom Brady, which is a 3D scan of his. And let's see if there is more on this. I think there's maybe there's some extra stuff on here. They've changed this around. There was quite a bit of stuff, but I think there'll be more of. I think this was the Dallas game thing that they did. So here we go. Here's the model from the 3D scan, the football. So these are different types of kind of modeling things that I do for autograph, and I'm kind of glad to be able to share some of this. Again, we're very early with this process, and soon we will be, developing it further. Athelstan, I did meet him, yes. I definitely did have that pleasure. It was great. And there's a really funny story about that meeting as well, because it was during the scan, and there was a lot of stuff that was supposed to happen, but we had really bad weather, which he shows in the video of it. So the good news is I got to hang out with him a lot more than I thought I would, which is kind of cool. And super amazing person, of course. But yeah, so, and I do some Mech-y type of stuff there. They're going to do the Firefly Festival. There's going to be NFTs for that, and so they made a NFT game, which is pretty cool, and I got to work on that, which was a lot of fun. So a lot of great stuff going on. And we're not even close to being done with some of the stuff that's coming out, so I think that's going to be kind of a cool thing to have worked on in my experience. All right, I think I know what I'm going to do. So I'm going to go ahead and polygroup these over here. So not edge, but mesh, polygroup, polyloop. And then for edge, we don't want to do anything. And for vertex, we don't want to do anything. Here we go. Another thing that happened is that my Gnomon class ended. So the summer term class ended, and the students did some amazing work. I was really happy with some of the results of their final projects, and glad that's concluded in a very cool way, and getting ready for the next term coming up. I'm going to be teaching, I think, 2 classes during that time. I think this one over here I could do without. Let's see if I can get rid of it. Yeah, I think these ones are good. Hopefully these are their own thing, and I'm just going to Q mesh these in. Polyloop as well, or polygroup all. Let's see. I'm hoping these are not connected to any other polygroups, so we'll find out soon enough. Do that. Yeah, that works. Yeah, it was kind of under wraps for a while, but our art director did talk about the scan on a Twitter interview, so I can talk about it as well, which is great. Yeah, that was a really amazing experience, and the scan came out just super cool. but it takes a little bit of time to polish it and work with it and get it to be, I mean, the stuff that you're seeing now is stuff that we did like right after the scan. So we didn't really have the time to do any of the retopology, any of the other things that we're going to be doing. So we're working on all that currently. And if you guys are interested in that, there's a great Gnomon workshop that I did, which talks about how to do scanning, 3D scanning, and how to get that data into ZBrush and retopologize it. Friday Night Funkin', I don't know what that is, Eval Pio, and I'm hoping you're not a bot because I'll have to kick you otherwise. But I don't know what that is. Maybe you can elaborate on what that is. Is that something I should be playing or looking into? The thing I'm really looking forward to playing is the Call of Duty beta. So I think this weekend it's the PlayStation exclusive beta testing. And then next weekend is the crossplay with Xbox. I'll probably play next weekend. This weekend I have too much to do. But yeah, that's going to be cool. Here we go. That works right there. That works great. Okay, and then I think with these guys over here, I never really got to work on them. So I think they're just probably like, yeah, they're just simple box. So let me kind of polish these guys. Actually, do we even need those? Let's see if I can remove them and see what we get underneath. Yeah, no, I think we do need them. All right. Will I play the... Oh, is this Manua from my class? That'd be awesome if it is. A rap battle game? No, you know, I don't. I don't think. I don't think that's kind of my thing. But is that something you worked on, or is that something you play? Manua, hey man, welcome aboard. Nice to see you. This is one of my students that's on the chat. This is such a great. So great to have you on here. Yeah, Manua did a really nice robot for his class final project. So, glad you're on here. It's always good to see students after the class ends. It was great to have you in the class too, Manua. All the Gnomon students are always just really stellar students to have. Definitely one of the best experiences I've had teaching is at Gnomon, for sure. I've had good students wherever I've taught. There's always been, you know, some good students, regardless of the school or the program or anything like that. It's usually the students that make it work. All right, so I'm going to turn transparency on here and ghost mode to see if I can go in here. So Manua, this is a little bit different than class, right? So I'm not really going through concepts. I'm just doing work. And then this is kind of nice to watch because you kind of get to see you know, how I kind of what my workflow is and my custom UI and how fast I work. Because usually when I'm teaching, I use the standard UI in ZBrush, and that kind of slows me down. It's always good to kind of have my UI up and work faster. So Manua, you're kind of getting an experience of how that works when I'm doing this. All right, so let's put these over here, just kind of giving it a little bit more subdivisions so we can get this into some sort of a shape. So I'm going to go off of transparency again. And these are just Yeah, I like the fact that these are kind of going this way, but let me see if I can give them some gestural things. Yeah, it is different. I mean, I wish I could do this in class, but I think I would lose a lot of people because, it's just using my own UI. See, I've got all these menus that I use all the time. They just pop up wherever I am. You kind of heard me talk a little bit about this when I talked about the custom user interface lecture. I think it was earlier on in the term, right? So this is kind of how it plays out. So yeah, I'm not like going, what menu was this thing in or whatever. I'm just kind of cooking away at this. So again, here's another interesting transition that I need to solve. So I'm trying to see if I can solve it easily or if I actually have to add some geometry to this. And I also don't like the way these things are ending in the back. So I kind of want to keep this shape going. So I might do a little bit of extrusion on here, which is kind of not the best idea because now I'm going to be extruding 4 polygons instead of 1. But and I'm just going to extrude polygroup island this time and just give it a little bit more geometry in the back that I can bend in like so. Here we go, and then let's work on this bottom part. So anybody see any good movies, or guys want to talk about any sci-fi stuff while I'm working? It's always good to kind of keep the conversation going. Here we go. So there are quite a few of you out there. Are you guys just lurking? Manu, are you done with all your classes, or are you just do you still have any classes left? Do you have any extra makeup week stuff, or are you done? You'll be on Tuesday? All right, so you have a little bit of more stuff to do. I kind of thought of giving you guys an extra week to do your assignments, Manua, just to let you know. But I did that last term, and I don't know if the students really benefited from it. I think 1 or 2 students might have, but most everybody else was already done. So this term I just said, okay, I'll just kind of see. And all you guys are really good anyway. I knew you guys would be done. So oh, that's right. You're doing the reel. Cool. Yeah. Send me a link to it when you're done. I'd be very curious to see it. Are you going back to France, or are you going to stay here? So you're working on your reel and you're just kind of watching this on the side. That's great. I do that all the time too. Like I watch streams and I'm just working away. Oh, you are? Okay, so you are not going to go back. Fantastic. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Not even for a vacation? All right, Ask ZBrush page. Oh, there's an Ask ZBrush page now. I didn't know about this. Here, let's check it out. Always new stuff happening. Oh, I also should mention this thing too. I don't know if you guys were aware. Oh, okay. So they just basically have a page where you can ask the question, and then they have all the videos. Very nice. I think this is new. Yep, and there's just 15 pages of these. By the way, for all those of you that are new to ZBrush, this is a great place to get your questions answered. So you can either find your answer here in these videos, or if it's not here, they will answer it with a video for you. So definitely do that. Very cool that they did this. I'm super, super happy. Also, I should also mention that if you guys don't know, ZBrush got a update recently. So it's 2022.0.6. So this just came out. So if you are a ZBrush user, make sure, I think it tells you when you first start it that there's a new version, but you can download it. And guess what? It is free. And I think some of the things that they did with this is made it work better with Cinema 4D. So some of the Maxon stuff is starting to happen. So if you are, I think now it sends creasing information to Cinema 4D, and also I think so you can send in materials and stuff. So I think the connection between Cinema 4D and ZBrush has kind of become a lot tighter, which is nice. Obviously, that is going to be more of a thing that is going to happen over time, obviously, and I think that's a good thing. It's still, the Keyshot bridge is still in play as well. I don't think that's changing for a while. And lastly, also they announced, if you don't know about that, is that they are going to have a ZBrush Summit as well. So they are going to continue doing those, and it is set for November. And I wrote the dates down. It's November 13 to November 16. So I will be tuning in for that. I kind of wanted to present at this year's, but I don't know if they already have their schedule done or not, but we'll see. It would be cool to present the stuff I do at work. I think that would be pretty cool. But we'll see if it makes it into the schedule or not this time around. But I'm sure there's some really amazing stuff that's going to be shown. There always are. I don't think I've been to one of the ZBrush summits where I've not seen amazing stuff. All right, so I'm just gonna I'm trying to see if this works better if it's embedded, and it does. It does work better, and it's less work for me to make it kind of fit. So I'm just gonna kind of go with it this way again, working in low poly, just getting in the gesture of what this is, and then we will continue with it further. All right. All right, pretty quiet on the chat front. I guess it's going to be another quiet night, which is fine. We had one night where everybody was really lively and conversational, and sometimes we have quiet nights. Doesn't matter to me. I was explaining this to my class that this is something that I do just to always have some sort of personal project to do with ZBrush, so I'm not always just doing work stuff. You know, before I kind of put really tight schedules on myself to get these things done within 10 weeks or whatever, but now I don't really care. I just want to work on it like I'd be working on it normally, and you know, if it takes 20 weeks, it takes 20 weeks. If it takes 5 weeks, it takes 5 weeks, whatever, depending on the project. I already know what I'm doing next, which is going to be another one of the things that was generated with AI, which is probably just going to be bust, so that won't take that long. And if you guys are wondering and you haven't seen what it is, the next one is going to be this from my Instagram. Let me bring that up. The next model I'm going to do is this model right here. So this is something that was generated by a bunch of Kitbash images, or not Photobash images from AI. So this wasn't one prompt. This was maybe the same prompt, but different variations. and different generations. So this was like maybe 20, 30 images, and I just cut pieces from each one and put them together into this photo bash. But I like this so much, I actually am going to make it into a 3D object. So I'm going to do that in ZBrush. That's going to be the next project. So the big question is, oh, by the way, another thing to note here is I did a non-photorealistic render of what we're working on right now. And this is using Pablo Munoz Gomez's ZBrush Guides Blue Pencil material pack or filter pack that he just came out with. So if you guys haven't checked that out, definitely do. It's a really neat filter pack, and you can do some really interesting things with it. And I should say that, you know, Pablo does not pay me to say that. I just really like the stuff he puts out, and I'm excited about it. Usually I get it like first, second day it comes out. He's one of those guys that always does great work for the community, and he streams on here as well. So if you haven't checked out his streams, definitely do. The guy is definitely a big contributor to the ZBrush community. He is. I don't know how he has time to do all the things that he does, but he's just great. Yeah, I'm really, you know, I always kind of am very happy with some of the amazing talent that gives their time to the community with ZBrush. All right, so I'm going to delete this one here. I don't need it. I'm going to get these clean edges, and then here, I think this is kind of working out pretty good for me. It's so funny. It would be from this class that I would get people joining the stream. Because in the previous classes, well, I guess the classes I used to teach, those were, some of them were ZBrush centric, but some of them are, ZBrush is just one of the tools that I use, that I also use other stuff. So like the character design, I definitely do my work in ZBrush, but there's a lot of students that did their work in Photoshop. And then I want to say BizCom classes, they also used a bunch of different tools. A lot of students use Modo. Now, ZBrush is one of those kind of under used applications that I think a lot of students don't know what it does. So I'm going to bring that piece back in, that edge loop. And again, you guys see I'm working in very low res, and that's kind of how things start out. And then I start adding more and more detail as I go along. All right, so this is looking a lot better. Hey, Harry Wizards, how's it going, man? Thanks for joining us. We are working away on this mech. Right now we're just working on this little arm, which again, we haven't really figured out the function for. Maybe it's some sort of a welding arm, maybe it's some sort of a, I don't know, pollinating arm. We still don't know exactly what the function of this mech is. We'll get there soon enough, but we are slowly but surely figuring out what all the different pieces that are on it do. So we figured out that this thing here, the arms that it's hanging down, is these arms right here. These are propulsion. So this is basically just one big kind of propulsion arm, and then out of here either it's jets that come out, or air. It could be, you know, it could use some of the balloon air to push itself. So I don't know. We haven't determined that yet. So now we're trying to kind of refine this arm over here, and it's getting good. I think I'm just gonna leave that here and jump to the legs. But again, it's kind of always, I tell my students, always don't stick to one area for a long time. Move to different areas if you can. So I'm just going to move to the legs now. I'm going to go ahead and hide these ones. And it's always good to kind of have a good organization of your models so that you can hide different things and work on different areas. So here, we're going to work on these legs over here. Any modeling tips? Well, I do tips all the time. Are you talking about poly modeling tips specifically, Harry, or are you talking about? I'm going to make this thing a little bit bigger. This thing, which I always get asked questions about, but it's basically just the Wacom radial menu. Hello, come on. Is it up yet? There it is. Yep, we just want to go in here and give this one more tick up. I think this might be better over here. Okay. All right. So let's see. Yep, much better. All right. So modeling tips. Let's see. What's a good modeling tip? Are these mirrored? Oh, no, they're not. I should mirror them. Mirror in Mold X and activate symmetry. Okay, now they're mirrored. Are you a ZBrush user, Harry, or poly modeling in Blender? You know, I'm going to come clean here and say that I don't do a lot of poly modeling in Blender yet. I do some. For example, I use Hardops and Box Cutter specifically to get kind of the things that they do, because they do something, some shapes really well. I'm not too happy with the topology they produce, but they do help me get the shapes that I want. So when I jump into Blender, I use it for that. But if I'm going to do raw poly modeling, I usually just do it in ZBrush. I just use ZModeler to do it. And that kind of is my go-to for doing poly modeling. And every once in a while, if I need to fix certain topological things that I can't do in ZBrush, I take the model into Maya. I go Z it into Maya and do it there. But I am also learning Cinema 4D because obviously that is a direction that a lot of these things are going to go into. So yeah. The other thing I should also mention is if any of you have iPads, and I'm waiting for Apple to release their next one. I mean, I currently have one, but it's a few generations back. But I think Apple at some point is going to release an iPad with the M2 chip. I'll get one, but the reason why I'm mentioning this is because Forger has been updated, and so now you can do poly modeling on Forger on the iPad, which is kind of cool. And that will help me, you know, be able to do poly modeling when I'm not sitting at my desk. So if I'm in a meeting or I'm out and about, in a waiting room somewhere or whatever, I can just take out my iPad and do some poly modeling on the Forger app. And I mean, I can do that now with my iPad. I'm not saying that I'm going to wait for the M2 to do it. My iPad's decent. Again, it's a few generations back, but yeah, I'm kind of waiting for that to happen as well. It's good that a lot of the functionality, I mean, it doesn't make sense to have all of ZBrush on the iPad, but it does make to have some functionality on there so you can do some work offline or you know, in bed or wherever. Use your iPad, bathroom. All right. All right. You guys are really quiet. How long have you been using Blender, Harry? Wizards? And are you on the latest version? Are you on? Is it 3.3? Is that the latest version of Blender? Yeah, you can do. Yes, you can do poly modeling 24/7. Well, I think the good thing is that in Forger, like if you know, I mean, the whole point isn't to do polymodeling in Forger. The point is you can generate stuff to sculpt on in Forger, which you couldn't do before. You just have to use some of their primitives. So there's only so far you can go with just starting from a sphere. But it looks to me like they've got some of the Z modeler type functions in there, which is kind of cool. All right, so here I'm just kind of trying to find some polygonal aspects to it. And here, this is a good tip for you, Harry. So Harry Wizards. So here you can see that I'm sculpturally doing polymodeling. I'm trying to establish the planes here before I retopologize or ZBrush this thing. So I figure, you know, maybe this thing connects to here, and then I'm also thinking that this part, excuse me, this part right here. Oops, not want to do that. Somehow has a pivot over here, and this thing kind of closes up, right? So, and then just kind of opens up. So I kind of have to, I was thinking of that as kind of a cool thing to add, but have to figure out the functionality of it. All right. And we've got a really busy Nightbot here, putting in a lot of advertising stuff, which is kind of cool. Makes it seem like there's more going on in the chat. All right. So yeah, you're on 3.3. That's great. Do Blender users? I'm kind of curious. Do they upgrade all the time? Like if there's a new version, do you usually just erase the old one and put the new one on? One thing I do like about Blender is that it upgrades all your plugins pretty fast. Should you go to 3D modeling school? I mean, you can. You can, definitely. I don't know if there's a modeling school that teaches Blender, though, right? I think most of the schools teach tools that are used in the industry. Even though Blender is being used more and more, it's still kind of... I still see people kind of not treat it the same way they treat like Houdini or Maya or some of these other apps that seem to be more commercial. But that said, we have a amazing Blender artist that works with us at Autograph, and he is amazing with Blender. He just knows it inside and out, and does some really cool stuff with it. I'm really happy to say that with all the artists that we have a whole bunch of different artists that use different apps, but we do have a really good Blender artist, and he's really young and he's really, really sharp. So shout out to him in my stream. But yeah, he does some really, really cool Blender stuff. All right, so here, I think this is a ZBrush piece. Is it? No, is it? It's Dynamesh. So I'm just going to re-Dynamesh it. I'm going to keep the same resolution here and just re-Dynamesh it, just so I get a little bit better topology. And then once I kind of establish the shapes that I want, I'll go ahead and either break things out or re-topologize it. So yeah, I mean, you could go going to a 3D modeling school. There is really no 3D modeling school. There are 3D modeling courses that are taught in schools. And if you take one of those, I think you'll learn things that you could use in Blender or more other applications. There are fundamentals that you need to know for 3D modeling, like working with different poly counts, UVs, morph targets, just things that are kind of topology. There are things that you will learn in a 3D modeling class that you can apply to pretty much every tool. When I took 3D modeling, I took it in Maya, so that's kind of where I learned it. And I still do use Maya a little bit, but I'm applying a lot of the things I learned in that class into ZBrush and into Blender and other tools as well. So hopefully that helps. All right, I'm just kind of trying to get this shape to work and be more mechanical looking. Right now it's just kind of random Yeah, you're at Full Sail. Yeah, see, exactly. That you know, that's kind of the thing. A lot of schools just basically use Maya, and it took forever for ZBrush to get in too. I should mention that. Like, it wasn't, you know, it took a while before ZBrush became something that they taught in schools. Like, I remember when I went to Nomen, there was an intro to ZBrush class, and then there was an anatomy in ZBrush class, and then there was a advanced ZBrush class, and all these classes, the last two were 6 weeks. You know, it was really new at the time, so I think there weren't that many. Now, I think Nomen has like 6 or 7, maybe even more ZBrush classes, and I could, you know, propose more too, but yeah. And I have a feeling like in maybe a few years there'll be more Blender specific classes as studios start to adapt it and start using it. Funny things I use by, I don't know what you mean, Harry Wizards. I don't know what your comment is about. Oh, use a 710 as a graphics card, an NVIDIA 710. Okay, yeah. Well, you know, with ZBrush, the graphics card doesn't matter. You can. It doesn't use the GPU. It uses the GPU for specific functions, but it doesn't use the GPU for 3D rendering stuff. So you can get away with using a lesser graphics card. That's a great thing. You know, Maya requires a better graphics card. Like, you need a, I don't know, 1080 at least, or 2080. But ZBrush, you know, you can just use older graphics cards. Of course, the better, faster graphics GPU you have, the better. Yeah, Bevel Pro uses the GPU. That's right. And I think there's 1 or 2 other plugins that use the GPU, but they're plugins. They're not ZBrush proper. One of the things I wish would use the GPU is ZBrush, but we'll see. Or, you know, there are some computational things in ZBrush that sometimes I wish they happened a little bit faster, but I think if you have a decent CPU, you're good. I think NVIDIA is going to announce new GPUs soon. I'm kind of excited about that. I think I'm going to jump in this time. I skipped on the 300 or the 3000 series. Like, I never got a 3090 just because they're hard to get. They were really, really hard to get, and there were lines. It was expensive. A lot of crypto miners were using them, so I never jumped to it. I'm still on a 2080, but I think I'm going to jump in with the 4000 series and get one. So I think they announced that soon. I think even maybe next week. All right, sorry. But yeah. All right, I'm going to give this a little bit more resolution. So I'm just going to go to Dynamesh here. So Manua, if you're still on, you can see my Dynamesh is over here in this menu. Like, I don't go open it up. So I just basically go here and just click on here. And I'm going to give this 1024. I'm just going to double the resolution. Just because I need a little bit more detail on here. So again, kind of really rough work. How are we doing on time? Oh, wow. Can't believe we've eaten through an hour already. All right. And of course, I don't have symmetry on, so Marin Weld, activate symmetry. Here we go. We got it on both sides. How much should I spend on a PC to run these programs? Well, first of all, I don't know are you in the US? Are you outside the US? Because I think PC prices change. And I don't think you should look at it as how much you should spend. I think you should just kind of look at it as what are some capabilities that you need. But it's one of those things where I would say get the best PC you can afford. But spend your money wisely, you know. Sometimes people spend a lot of money on certain things that you don't really need. So, yes, the Bevel Pro plugin, Nessing, I guess, Nessing. It definitely does use the GPU. Bevel Pro does. So this thing right here, Z plugin, Bevel Pro. Where are you? There it is. This thing right here does use the GPU. And also, you'll notice that when you click on it, it actually, and I don't know if it's going to work well with this, when you click on it, it actually launches its own UI. So it just launches its own UI, and this UI uses the GPU for sure. And I'm glad it does, because even by using the GPU, it takes a long time to do its calculation. Oops. What brush am I on? Oh, all right, here we go. But yeah, Bevel Pro uses it, and I think there are some other ones that do as well. For some reason, it's not really hitting me which ones they are. I don't know if UV Master does, but there are definitely plugins that use the GPU. I don't think it's ZBrush. Do I think ZBrush will keep evolving again? Oh, for sure, absolutely. I mean, every time they do an upgrade, it's always like amazing stuff. So I have no doubt that it's going to evolve. I mean, it's already evolved, you know. I mean, right now they're just kind of hooking it up more with some of the other Maxon apps, but I'm sure they'll be showing us some really cool stuff very soon. Everybody, I mean, the people at Pixelogic are everybody stayed, so it's the same team. It just they are part of a bigger team now, and so I don't know why it would be any different. It's not like they sold the company and everybody left. Everybody's still there doing what they do. All right, so this is looking a little bit more hard surfacey, like that. Which is kind of funny because initially I was kind of envisioning this to be more of a kind of a softer piece, but it's not. All right, and I'm going to kind of make this into more of a harder piece as well. All right. On the knees, these here are golem testicles. Wow. Well, to you they are, I guess. I won't deny you the your imagination, but these things are just basically its knees, and yep. Golem testicles. Wow. Where do you even come up with that? You've got a lively imagination. All right, so with this one, I think I'm going to start doing a dynamic subdiv on it, see what kind of shape I get. And introduce QGrid. And this is pretty much what I want. I think I'm just going to reduce this QGrid to maybe to level 2 or 3. Um, I'm still kind of thrown off by the Golem testicles comment. I think what's really funny is that there is there are some things in this model that might be more like that. So, but the knees weren't really the things I was thinking about. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I think I like this the way it is. I'm going to keep the Q grid at 7. And let's see if a chamfer would look any better. I'm going to turn polyframe off. Let's see what a chamfer will look like. How about just a chamfer? Nope, not any good. And let's turn constant off. Okay, that actually gives me a little bit better result, and I think that's good. I'm just going to apply it. Let's see what kind of topology we get. Okay, it's a little bit busy, but I think it'll do what we need it to do. All right, so that's that. And I can Dynamesh or ZBrush it later if I need to, but I just wanted it to be more of a kind of a, you know, more of a definitive shape, and that actually works really well in that area. So let's get back to this part right here that we're working on, dubbed GTs. I think I am going to, when I start decaling this thing up, I'm going to put GT on the side here, just to commemorate you, my friend. Because it's very rare that somebody has some good humor to offer in these streams, so it's always appreciated. And testicles, like farts, are always considered as funny terms. All right, so this stream is going a little bit off the rails. I need to kind of get it back on. All right. Everything looks like golden testing. So we're stuck on that. I think, you know, if my streams had a name, I think we would know what the name of this one would be. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll start adding names to my streams. I think that's a great idea. We'll start with this one. We will start with this one. All right. Right? It would be very memorable. That's right. We are still off the rails here. We need to get back on. Okay, so now I'm kind of getting a little bit of a better defined shape. And I could always kind of break this apart if I need to, but I'm just figuring out how to make it work. So over here, there probably will be a panel like this. So I'm just going to draw it in for now and then refine it later. I could probably just add geometry to do this. Kind of don't like this edge over here. I don't know what I can do to it. Let's see if I can break it up with a bevel. Actually, I'm going to use the bevel brush for this. This one. It's always, you know, you always forget these brushes, and they're so cool. There we go. All right, yeah, that definitely made that edge better. I'm going to do the same thing over here. Let me solo this out. Nope, probably need a bigger brush, but I don't want to. Here we go. That gives it a little bit better definition, like so. And again, right now I'm just playing around with shapes. So this is kind of an important thing. Like if you are doing modeling, like if you don't have this as an image, right? Like if you don't have this already kind of in your head and you're just exploring, this is how you'd be doing it. And what's really interesting is like somebody was mentioning that it seems like a lot of what I do is noodle, which is kind of correct. I mean, I'm not, this is not something I'm doing for production, so I'm basically just taking my time, and I am noodling. But I see that a lot of people do this kind of stuff too in the exploration phase. Sometimes they don't do it on screen, and I do it on screen just because I think it's important for people to know. Because when you're pulling a really well done, made cake out of the oven every time, people are like, okay, well, how am I going to make this cake? So I kind of like to show a little bit of under the hood of how I work. I think that's kind of useful. All right. Now that we've made this change, I need to modify this a little bit. And you can see little by little this shape is kind of popping up. But I've been spending a lot of time here, so I should jump to something else. I kind of like this gesture over here. I don't know about this. I think it's fine. Let me see if I can do anything with it with the bevel brush. ER4MANU, are you still with us? Are you still on the stream? He's probably not. So he probably just he jumps from stream to stream and says things like that. That would kind of be funny too. Like if somebody was just a stream jumper and just goes to streams and mentions a certain word and then goes to another stream, mentions that word, and then has a stream of him doing that, that would be very meta. I'm still waiting for the mind interface to ZBrush, so I don't have to be like, could you imagine if I could just think what brush I want and it shows up? Oh man, what I wouldn't give to do that. Right? So like this guy just basically goes from stream to stream, mentions the T word, and then jumps off, and then goes to another stream, does the same thing. And that's all he does. And then there's a stream of him doing it. I mean, he'd get kicked eventually, but it'd be funny. Right? Doesn't sound funny. That's right. In today's world, like crazy shit like that definitely happens. A lot of things are completely off the rails. Or just think it and then the model, well, I mean, I don't know. I think a lot of things come up when you are working, right? Like there are certain things that you might not think of if you're not working on it. But that's not far-fetched. I mean, I think a lot of people right now are panicking about AI, like over panicking, like it's just pandemonium. Like everything is about that. There are radio interviews about it. There are whole big meetings of artists about it. everybody is just freaking out that AI is going to take over artist jobs, like in a big way, like just mass panic. So, and I've mentioned my perspective on that before, and if anybody's interested, I'll mention it again. Yeah, Midjourney is fun. No doubt. I've spent many hours on it, and it's definitely kind of running in the background. But, like after a while, it's kind of, okay, what next? I mean, it's not really, it doesn't give me what I want exactly. That's why I photo bash the stuff. And to photo bash, I still need to have my skills. So I'm not that worried. But people are. They're like, wait until it does 3D and wait until it does this, that, or the other. But yeah, I don't think it's that big of an issue. I think it's a cool tool. I think it's definitely going to be in my tool set for sure. Like, I'm not just going to ignore it, but I also don't think it is as worrisome as a technology as people are making it out to be. I think you can tell if it's AI art, right? Like, I think there's very specific things about it that are very obvious. XSV. I think there's, I mean, for artists, like people with a trained eye, you can look at an image and go like, that's AI. You know what I mean? Like, if no changes. I mean, if somebody is like, if you really look at my stuff here. Like if I look at this image here, an untrained eye, like somebody who, doesn't know anything about AI or whatever, it looks at this, goes, oh yeah, this is painted, right? I mean, because it's basically photo bashed, but a lot of these elements are from AI, right? So same with this right here, right? This is another one of the things that I did. This is a photo bash, again, from, maybe 30, 40 images. Right? This is all AI-generated pieces that I put together. And an untrained person can look at this and go, like, there's nothing AI about this. But if somebody knows and seen a lot of AI stuff, they'll go, okay, well, it is AI. I'm going to look for Necro. Here's another artist. This is, Necro is a really amazing artist. He does a lot of great work. And he started incorporating AI pieces into his work. So like if you look at something like this, I mean, this is definitely Necro's work, but maybe this was an AI element that he added in here. Or maybe this was an AI element. But you can tell, like, this stuff going on here, that's very much what's going on with a lot of Midjourney stuff. And he shows it here. He says, okay, so I've made this fairy using AI elements, and these are all the different kit bash pieces. So he basically goes in and cuts out all these pieces, and he puts it together. But I can tell, like, I can look at this and I go, yeah, this definitely is using AI elements. It's not that hard to tell from an artist's perspective. So, I think it's not that hard to know if something is made with AI or not yet. But one of the biggest kind of news items and freak out parties was that I'm going to delete half of this and just work on the half just to kind of get a better shape. I'm sticking with this piece too long. I need to move on to something else, but I will in a minute. Let me delete hidden. Where are you? So one of the things that recently happened is that there was a art contest. And somebody just put in an AI image like just right out of AI. Didn't do any modification, didn't do anything. Just took that image and just put it in the art contest and won, right? And people went nuts. They're like, well, I spent hours and days painting my picture, and we didn't know if their AI was allowed or whatever, and like, how dare this image be an AI image, and how dare it win, and all that kind of stuff. So it was a big controversial thing, and and so that kind of caused a bit of a stir. But like me looking at that image right away, I could say, yeah, that's an AI image, for sure. And I didn't know if the person did any Photoshop work on top of it or whatnot, but you can really tell that it's an AI image. So a lot of people didn't know, but then when they found out it was AI, they just went completely bonkers. So the other kind of funny thing about it also, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but AI images, you can't copyright them. So if you generate something out of Midjourney, you can't copyright it, period. You just can't. Under US law, at least, it's not copyrightable. So, but if you do make changes to it, to a certain point, I think it is copyrightable. So again, the rules are all kind of loosey-goosey right now, because all this is brand spanking new. And there's a lot of really vocal people with a lot of varied opinions. So why not talk about it here? Yeah. Okay, yeah, cool. They're saying about the ZBrush Summit, ZBrush, all these things popping up. Cool. XSV, hey, thanks a lot for the follow. I appreciate it. You're not following me directly, by the way. You're following the ZBrush Live channel, and there's a lot of really great other streamers as well on here. I am eventually going to stream on ZBrush Live. I'm sorry, on Twitch. So I am definitely going to do an individual, not a Maxon or Pixelogic or ZBrush oriented. It is going to be ZBrush, but it is going to be my own stream. And I'm going to do that. I just have not had the time with all the stuff that's going on in my life. I haven't had the time to kind of delve into that. So I'm going to get a Stream Deck, and I do have an account. I just haven't really gotten around to doing it. I know how to do it. I just have to do a lot of pre-work, and again, it's just me. Kind of wish I had an army of people sometimes, but I don't. It's just me. If anybody wants to volunteer to help, I'd be more than happy to oblige you. All right, let's do another Dynamesh here. So this is kind of starting to come together. It's looking like a fine art piece right now, but it's getting further and further away from what we assumed it was before. All right. Okay. Oh, yeah. Thanks. That's great. Thank you. I could use more Instagram people. It's so funny. I was like hovering around 1900 something for a long time, and then I broke through 2000, and now I keep adding more and more people. I don't know if it matters. Like, I would much rather have like 2,000 followers who really care about what I'm doing than have 10,000 followers where I've got 8,000 followers who don't know what's going on, and they just want to follow stuff. So I have some followers that I really admire, and that's always kind of a good thing. What's kind of funny is I've kind of stayed away from the whole NFT thing before. I mean, obviously the company I work for does do NFTs, but I've stayed away from the whole NFT thing. Like I don't have any of my artworks as NFTs, and I didn't own any NFTs before, but I finally ended up buying one, which was something that my work offered just to its employees, just as a thank you. So I just own one NFT, but it's kind of a fun experience. You know, at some point I do want to have NFTs of my work that I sell. But again, that's another one of those things where I don't have the time to do it. I know some artist friends of mine have done really well with NFTs. I know a lot of artist friends of mine that have not. And right now, that with the crypto kind of thing being where it is, I don't know if now's the right time to jump in. But eventually I will at some point. I think it's here to stay. I don't think it's going anywhere. One of the nice things that recently happened, I don't know if you guys were paying attention, but Ethereum now is more eco-friendly, which is good. I think it's the first company to do that. I'm not sure, but I think definitely one of the bigger cryptocurrencies that does it. Do another Dynamesh here just to kind of add the right topology. It's funny, you know, for a hard surface kind of person or a hard surface project, I do use Dynamesh quite a bit because it definitely is a good way to kind of get the shape to go. All right. So we talked about, let's see, we talked about AI, we talked about NFTs. Let's see, what else can we talk about? I kind of want to start coloring this thing too. Let me see. All right, I'm just kind of jumping back and forth with this. I want to move off of it somehow, and it's getting too horizontal and vertical. I kind of want to make some changes to it, but I'm kind of tired of working on this part. So let's just do some coloring. Let's go off into a completely different dimension here and do some coloring. I'm just going to work on the hull. So I'm going to hide all these other things. And let's just come up with some interesting colors for this. So I'm just going to stick to this basic material here and start looking at this as parts. So there's this part right here. I think this would be good as a darker color. So let's just go ahead and fill it in with a darker color. By the way, if you guys don't use the ZColor plugin, it's really amazing. This is probably the best way to do coloring in ZBrush. So it's got all the kind of the web safe colors, and also you can choose colors kind of using HSV this way, and it's kind of a nice way to just get the colors that you want. So I'm thinking for this, so looking at the original image that this is based off of. Let's see if I want to use any of those colors. So I just load that in as a texture, and let's go ahead and choose it. Not you, this one, and let's pop it on here for inspiration. I think it works better like this because I don't want to see the clouds. I just want to see the Mech. I'm just going to move it over this way. I want it to be bigger on the screen, but I don't want it to take over everything. Okay, so that's good. And so this is pretty dark and shiny. I don't know if I want mine to be that dark. Maybe, let's see, let's try it out. So I'm going to pick a gray here. Maybe let's go ahead and go with black. And that's the other thing that I like is that now I've picked black, I can just pick the value just by using the slider. And choose maybe a darker gray. I can always like get the color too. Like I could just, here we go. So, do I like it this dark? I think it kind of looks cool. So I think I'm going to stick with that. Now I don't need all of it to be that color. So I'm just going to, for now, just fill this back part with that color. And then just let's go to a lighter color. Oh, did that not fill? Oh, it didn't fill. All right, no worries. I can go back to it. And if I want to place that in here, so right now this is the color, so I'm just going to go and say fill object for that one. Do I have, oh, I don't have RGB on, that's what's going on. Okay, so fill object. And that's that. And then let's pick a lighter color here. All right, and see what happens there. I'm on this part, right? So why didn't this get filled with the dark color? I'm just going to do it this way. Here we go. Ooh, I kind of like this dark blue. That's kind of neat. Happy accident there. I think I'm going to... I wonder if that will go well with these colors. Yeah, I think it's fine. Let's see. So yellow is over here. Blue's kind of off to the side. Yeah, I think that's fine. Maybe a darker one for this guy though. Fill object, there it is. And then let's go back to lighter. I think that's kind of working. All right, let's move to the next piece, which is this one right here. And that one could be the same color as this one. So let's just go ahead and fill that in with that color. And the good news is I can always go back and use these colors in Keyshot or whatever. Actually, I think I'm going to render this in Redshift, but right now I'm just kind of experimenting. Okay, let's see what's going on here. I've got somebody with Donald Ducks and dogs, and yeah, I don't know what 4 dogs means. Is that a good thing? 4 purple hearts and 3 Donald Ducks. I am not familiar with this currency. Oh, okay, cool, amazing work, great, thank you very much. I guess it is good. Oh, okay, wow. So did I get rated? Is that what's going on? That's kind of cool. I've never been rated before. Well, actually, I take that back. I think Kyle rated me once before. So yeah, thank you, Vicky Hikari, for linking to me. Much appreciated. All right, so here I'm going to start giving these different tones here. I kind of like this kind of light and dark tone action going on here, so I'm just going to go and do it with grays. So let's just say I want to put this gray color in there. Okay, and then fill object. And then I'm going to do the same thing with this piece. And this piece. All right, so that definitely adds some visual interest. Maybe this one as well. Fill object. And let's see how these look from the side. Okay, that's kind of cool. I'm liking that. And last but not least, I'm going to see if it works with this one as well. And I think it does. So there we go. Thank you, Vicky Hikari. I appreciate it. I really, really do. This is kind of, this was an AI image that I generated using Disco Diffusion a while back. And I'm basically sculpting that in ZBrush. So I'm basically making this thing in ZBrush. So if you hadn't followed the previous streams, that's what we're doing, is we're just making this thing. And I'll just go ahead and bring up all the different pieces so you can see we're making this thing kind of the way I see it. We're using that as inspiration. And then we're creating something that looks like it, but with, we don't want this one, but it's kind of going to be a 3D model, so we can look at it from every angle, right? I mean, that's something I can't do with AI. Like I can't say, I have this image, I'm going to feed you this image and then give me this model from a different angle. It's still, AI doesn't do that. So that's one of the reasons I'm really not worried about it at all. But I definitely think that it is useful for a lot of things. So here I'm just going to use this other method of choosing a tool, a subtool. Let's see, I want to find, nope, not that piece, but this one right here. Okay, so that's the inside piece. And I want that to be a really darker color, so I'm just going to go ahead and choose a darker color. And not pure black, but maybe like a dark gray. And then let's just add that as the main color and fill object. And that's done. Now let's move back to a nicer color. A bit of a lighter color here, right? So I kind of like this darker color inside. So we see kind of a darker shadowy color. I don't know why it didn't take. Let's try it one more time. I can also use this slider, by the way, to choose a darker gray. So I'm going to choose a pretty dark gray here, as black as I can get it to be. Oh, that's why I'm not choosing the right piece. I think this is the one I want. So now I've chosen that, and then fill object. Now it's filled, and then let's go back out to here. And I don't want the contrast between these two to be that severe, so I'm going to find something. I'm going to start with this color and then make it a little bit darker, and then fill object with that. I'm on the wrong tool again. Come on. I think this Z color thing is a little bit distracting with finding the right subtool, so I'm going to move it up to here. And the nice thing about this is I can move it to another monitor, but for now I'm just going to leave it here. And I think this is the one we want. No, where's the piece that I want? And again, I'm just going to use this method to, this is, by the way, a really good way of choosing your tools. You just press the N button and they all show up. And I think it's not this one. Where are you? It's not that. It's not that. It is. Sometimes it's on the side, so it's kind of hard to find. Or, easier still, I'm just going to select it. I'll click on it. There we go. That'll select it. Okay, and for this, I kind of want it to be a little bit, you know, similar color, but not as dark. A little bit, yeah, a little bit off like this. Here we go. That works. All right, so fill object there. And let's go to pure white for the rest of the stuff. So I'm going to hide all these things. I brought them up for you, Vicky, but I'm going to hide all these and go just to the piece we're coloring, just to make it less confusing for me. All right. I don't think there's been a save for a while, so I'm just going to do a quick save, get a swig of tea, and then continue on with the coloring. I do want to put some doohickeys and stuff in these little crevices that I created, but I will do that later. All right, let's see. Federico, thank you very much. I appreciate it. I'm hoping to render this soon, so I think we can see it in its full beauty when it's done. But yeah, I appreciate it. Oh, I've got somebody else. I see people expanding this workflow. It's like seeing figures and shapes on clouds. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, AI is definitely something I will be using. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, I'll be using it as a starting point sometimes. You know, sometimes you kind of get stuck when you're looking at a blank piece of paper. Type a prompt, get like something, you know, in AI. I mean, sometimes I don't get anything. I have to mention that. Sometimes I get like really crappy stuff. Like if I look at my Mid-Journey feed, let me see if I can find it. Yeah, I don't know where it is. I might not have it up. But yeah, if I look at my Mid-Journey feed, like if I just type beauty, for example, sometimes I get something great and sometimes I just get garbage. So yeah, it's luck of the draw. That's why one of the big problems AI has is that it's not predictable in any way, shape, or form. So you know, sometimes you get something good, sometimes you get garbage. So so that's why I think, you know, we're good for a while. All right. So did I hide that piece that was inside? I might have hidden it. Let's see. Where are you? I did hide it. Okay, we don't want to hide it. We want to bring it up. And also, whatever color this is, I'm going to color some other things that color too. So, like this thing could be that color. Fill object, and this thing could be that color. Okay, and maybe this thing as well. And these things aren't really going to show up, but I think it's kind of cool for them to be that color. Let's go back to white. Yeah, I think that kind of works very well. All right, I think that's good. And then these parts over here, I think they work better if they're darker, but also I will lose a lot of detail. So these things over here are going to be lights. So these will be lights when I get done with it. And these other shapes, they're probably some sort of metal material. Okay. What to do with this one? I think this one could be the same color as these pieces. So let's do that. Pick it. Fill object. I think. Or actually, I take that back. I think it'll be better if it was the center color. Yeah, I think that works better. So there's like some sort of continuity between this and this. All right, so now we've got a little bit of color in here. It's looking a little bit livelier. Let's see if we can add some color to these top arms. So for these ones, I wonder if the blue will work. Let's see. I might be changing that blue soon, but let's go ahead and give it a try. Fill object. I mean, it's kind of okay. No, I'm kind of not liking this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change these things to this color. So you pick that. And also this one. All right, so all those are kind of part of what this color is. And then for these ones, I want them to be kind of a really observable color. I'm going to go really kind of off here and change them to something really light. Let's even try introducing some weird funky yellows or something. Like, would that work? I think that kind of looks neat. Because these are going to be flailing about, so they need to be kind of more observable. So let's try that. Yeah, you're using more detailed prompts. Yeah. One week or 2 weeks prompting. Yeah. Blade Urban Dark, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Yeah, you know, I mean, when you do a prompt, I mean, you still have to have an artistic eye. You still have to kind of be able to see what the prompt is, if it works or not. You know, you can't just, you know, you still need to refine it and whatever. And you're right, people do spend a lot of time prompting. And I didn't know that was a verb, but it is now. Yeah, I think they, you know, the predictability of the result is still very, very hit or miss. Like, don't get me wrong, I get some amazing results, but not every time. And sometimes I get really frustrated and just go like, okay, I'll just not do it that way. All right. Hey Manua, thank you very much for coming on, buddy. I really, really appreciate it. Always great talking to you as well. Good night, and come back. I'm on off and on every Friday, off and on. So I'll be on not next Friday, but the one after. So join whenever you can, and also join if you have questions. Okay, I don't know if you're still on. You maybe left, but yeah, if you come up with questions afterwards, after the class is ended, you can ask them here. Okay, I'm gonna give this thing a little bit of geometry here. Okay, thank you for following me on Instagram. That's awesome. I try to put something on there, you know, every at least once every 2 weeks. I try to post something, and it's got my most current stuff. So definitely that's the place to follow me. But of course, you can always go to my Instagram. I'm about to do a big update on that, on not Instagram, but ArtStation. I'm about to update my ArtStation quite a bit. Put some new stuff on there and whatnot. Also my LinkedIn, just kind of something I've been putting off for a while, but I think I need to do it. So yeah. All my links are basically, if you go to my Instagram, I should mention this too. If you go to my Instagram, not Necros, but mine. I'm going to move this Z color thing out of the way for a minute. Yeah, but if you go to my Instagram over here, for example, oh wow, look at that. I've got 7 new followers. Thank you. But if you go to this link tree, it gives all the links to everything, including my Gumroad, where you can get my free UI colors. You can get those for free, and you can get this IMM brush for free. So definitely check that out. So again, these are all from my link tree, which is right here as my link on Instagram. So you can get to it from there. All right, so back to this. Okay, this is looking really good as a dynamic subdiv. However, I might not have constant on. Ooh. Maybe change the convergence down. Maybe change the Q grid number down to maybe about 4, and the convergence to, it's like here's where it's really struggling, but I think this is good enough. So let's go ahead and apply that. So that's there. Yeah, this thing came out pretty nice, you know, for it just being a low res thing. It came out pretty nice, just as a nice addition to this. It gives it a little bit more definition. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with the way the arms are coming along. I just want to say that we were talking about Jerry Anderson. I guess it is Jerry, it's not Gary. Last time, and I did a search on Google, and now I'm getting a lot of YouTube hits on things on that topic. Man, were there a lot of weird things happening then with that property, with the UFO property and the Space 1999 property. It's never a straight line. Like, you know, studio executives don't really know what they have on their hands. Like, they don't know how amazing those shows are and how long these shows will last. And now there's just so many kind of not so good shows that are still there. All right, so here's kind of an interesting thing. Somebody would notice this, that I try to do that. Use the clip brush, but then it's going to, since there's things on both sides, with symmetry, that's not going to work. So what I can do is I can turn symmetry off and mask half this arm, and then do the change I want to do over here. And this only works if it's a symmetric model, so I'm just going to maybe get this to be a little bit straighter like that, just to kind of get that shape. And now I can just mirror and weld it to the other side. Hopefully it is, did I get the right one? Nope, of course not. Let's go back, mirror and weld, no, mirror, mirror and weld. Here we go. Now we have it correct. And yeah, that works. And I'm just trying to get a little bit of definition on here, not too much, because this is kind of a malleable piece. So yeah, that kind of gave it a little bit of what I wanted. And I'm going to do the same thing here, just a little bit of a definition. There it is. Okay. I'm really liking how this this top arm is looking. I think it's almost done. The only thing I need to do is give these two parts a little bit of detail, and then maybe do a little bit of tertiary forms on here. All right. M. Souza 3D, thank you very much, man. I really appreciate it. Hopefully you find some useful stuff. Okay, so color-wise, let's see. I think, you know, we were experimenting with yellow. We kind of moved off the color for a bit. Let's go ahead and jump back into that. So top arms, let's expand this out. And let's try out some colors. So I'm going to see if these outside parts, these parts, look good as red parts. I think red really kind of did some cool stuff here with the gray. So I definitely think maybe this part will be red for sure. So let's do that. I'm going to pick this whole part, and I think this is a little bit too saturated. Maybe not too bad. Maybe like about there, fill object. So this is going to be red. And then let's pick this part here and let's take it back to gray. I think I'm wondering if this is going to clash with the balloons. Kind of is. Maybe not do that red. Maybe take it to this kind of a gray. So darker gray, but let's try and do this one red. I think that works better. Okay, so let's make these red, fill object, and then we'll make these gray. Oops. See if that works. I think these might not be good for gray. Let's try and yellow them up. I think that's a little bit too green. How about orange? Nope. How about just white? That might work. All right, let's leave it at that. Looks like a robotic bull's head. Yeah, I could see that. Definitely. Like this, definitely looks like a robotic bull head. That's a very good observation. Like this would be mounted on a wall like this. That's one of the things I strive for, is like things need to work on their own. So like if I hide this top arms and go to the hanging arms like this, right? Like this needs to work. Like all these different pieces that I have need to work individually. So maybe this looks like something else. You know what I mean? So even without the top arms, but then you add the top arms and you get something really cool like this. And then you add these arms, you get something even cooler. And then you add the legs and it starts kind of looking really compelling. All right, so since I got rid of the blue on here, I'm going to do the same thing with this. And with this piece, I'm going to make it pretty dark. So I'm just going to go for a dark gray, fill object. Kind of like this just being super, super dark. And I want to do the same thing with this. Like so. And it kind of follows this, like this is really dark over here. That's what this part over here is. So that works really well. I think we're kind of, the color is kind of coming along really nicely. This arm is really underdone, so I might be working on this arm off camera just to get it better. It's just basically some of the same things I did with this one. I just have to do the same thing here. This one's pretty much done. I think we can start coloring that one. How much time do we have left? I think we have 10 minutes. We're getting there. So let me start coloring this arm. So we don't want the top arms, we just want the hanging arms, and we just want to start, coloring the hanging arms. And I don't really need the hull for that either. So let's go, oh, actually I do need it just for color reference. So here I'm going to go for this part right here, and this part's going to be the same color as this. Fill object. And then this part right here could be the same color as that. Fill object, okay, that's working. This part could be a darker color. Like so, I think that works. And then this part down here could be the same. All right, so this coloring process is going really well. I kind of like the little shape that generated. And I think I might even pick this and make it that darker color. Let's see how that looks. I think that looks good. And this piece right here, I think it's a bigger piece. This could be a darker color as well, but even darker than that. Just full on, not full black, but pretty dark. And fill object, move this back out. Okay, so that kind of looks cool, just like that. Because this is some sort of a rubbery material, so that came across well. All right, and then this would also be that kind of darker material, so let's pick that color back, fill object, and then let's bring this back up to white. So yeah, so now we're kind of seeing some good distinction here, and coloring things definitely brings out the shapes. So this is coming along super, super nice. And then this piece right here, I'm gonna choose this color for that. Fill object, okay, that worked. And then let's go back to white. So then there are these kind of little hooks, and I think for those I'm going to also choose this color. And I think all these are one part. Let me make sure here, solo, yep. So just paint them all in one shot. Oops. There we go. So we can see just by adding a little bit of color here, this is starting to look, a lot of the shapes are starting to pop out, and all these colors will probably be assigning materials to or something like that as we move this into Redshift in probably in a 2 or 3 different. I would say maybe 3 or 4 streams. I think we'll be kind of starting to render this thing. But yeah, it's coming along, and I think we're pretty much close to the end of the time here. Hey, Daniel, how's it going, man? Good to see another streamer on here. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hope you're doing well. Lonely Sadness is asking. And I'm sorry, I'm laughing at your name, but it just seems kind of something that happens a lot online. But you're asking how to, learning how to use ZBrush, how to start. A good place to start is the Classroom. So if you just type Z Classroom, there's free training from Pixelogic, so it's pixelogic.com/zclassroom, and they have, if you're a beginner, you can just click on beginner, and here are all the beginner classes, and you can learn them here. Okay. So that would be a good place to start. That's where I would start if you don't know anything about ZBrush. And then as you go on and learning more about it, there's other companies and other learning resources, tons of them. There are literally thousands of ZBrush tutorials. So, but a good place to start would be Z Classroom. That's where I would start. If I was starting today, that's where I would be starting. Yeah, see, some people that have been using this stream, you know, that are ZBrush artists still find themselves, you know, even though they are seasoned, they go back to it. So yeah, there's some good stuff on there, and I think there will be it will be updated at some point. A lot of stuff on there is kind of older. Hello from Spain. Hi. Man, it must be really kind of midday there, I guess. Yeah, actually, I kind of always have a hard time pronouncing his name, but did this mention that you can always go to my older streams too, and you can learn from that stuff. So yeah, there's plenty of learning resources. Good news is it's not like it was before where there was nothing to learn from. Right now there is a glut of stuff. The trick now is not to learn, you know, is to know where to go to learn these things, not that there isn't anything. There's plenty of stuff. There's plenty of bad stuff too, I should mention that. So make sure that you are going to the good places. Okay, there's a little piece in here, which I think I could color the darker color. And there are online classrooms too, by the way. I should mention that, you know, if you don't want to, if you're struggling learning on your own, there are online schools and classes. One of the good things about the pandemic is that it introduced a lot of online stuff. So there's plenty of online stuff to learn from as well. All right, so this piece right here, I'm going to color it the darker color. So you can see I'm jumping around on the model, just kind of figuring out some good colors for it. So here we go, and I think we are almost at time. If you guys have some last minute questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them. I don't think so, Lewis. Getting into the game, the toy industry is not that hard, especially collectibles. You know, there are a lot of ZBrush artists that are that make collectible stuff. So, I mean, I don't know what kind of toys you're saying. Toys is a really big spectrum. You know, are you talking about collectibles? Are you talking about action figures? Are you talking about dolls? So depending on specifically what you want to do with toys, I think there's a lot of artists that do collectible stuff, and there's a lot of streamers that do collectibles as well. Speaking of which, I have to show this before I go, but let me just fix something that I just saw earlier. Let me fix that and then drop a quick save on this, and that'll kind of be the end of it for today's stream. That looks much better like that. And then I have to show you some of these new things that Marco Plouffe is doing as far as collectibles and toys. Oh, well, Lewis, you know, Kiosk Masons is hiring. So here, let me bring that up. I will send, I mean, if you're, you know, if they like your stuff, they will hire you. I know that they have a lot of openings. So here's Kiosk Masons page. And they do a lot of concepts and stuff for game companies. They do cinematic characters and whatnot. And it's a couple of people that started it, Marco and Frederick, I think his name is. And they do collectibles, and they just came out with these new collectibles that they're coming out with, this new series, and these look pretty rad. So I think they're taking orders for these, the Archangel series. So, and you can watch, he makes these on Twitch, so you can kind of watch him doing these things on Twitch. And these are on a whole other level. I mean, they're really, really amazing, and I would love to have one of these at my desk. But he's been sending out a lot of different links, and there's a bunch of them. I think there's 4 or 5 of them. Here's another one. Right, this is Raphael, and you can see it's pretty cool too. All these are done 100% in ZBrush. I think rendered in Keyshot maybe, and some of these might actually be the models themselves. So you can kind of see the turnarounds. They're pretty amazing. So yeah, hit these guys up. Maybe they will. Maybe they're hiring, and maybe what you do is kind of fits into their profile. So yeah, that's kind of the thing. If you don't want to start your own, you want to work for a company, I would definitely hit these guys up. If you got the chops, I think they will definitely like having you on there. All right, everybody. Thank you very much. I don't know, right now we've got 62 people watching. I think it should be more than that. I think 62 is just what this shows. Let me see if this other screen, whoa, I don't want that, go away. Let's see if this other screen shows me how many people I've got. Oh, it looks like it's 61. That's right. Okay, so for all of you that are joining, 62 people that are joining, thank you very much for spending this time with me, and hopefully you learned something and got something out of it. Again, if you want to watch me live, I'm going to be on not next Friday, but the Friday after from 7 to 9 p.m. Los Angeles time, and you can always watch these afterwards as well, as many times as you want. They're on, I think they are on YouTube, and they will stay there forever on Pixelogic's channel. You can also go to ZBrush Live and see them there. So hopefully, if you are not watching this live, or if you want to go back to something and see how I did something, you can always go back and do that. And with that, I will bid you all good day, good night, whatever time it is where you are. And we will see you soon. Happy ZBrush.